Ready to take a trip to the world? You found the Be Our Guest Walt Disney World Trip Planning Podcast. This is where your memories come front and center on our podcast stage.
Welcome to episode 2826 of the Be Our Guest Walt Disney World Trip Planning Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Rallman from BeOurGuestPodcast.com and one of the senior agents over at the Magic for Less Travel. Happy Wednesday to you. Hope you're getting ready for a great week. And today we've got a very different show for you because it is the start of Marathon Weekend 2026. And I'll tell you what, I've been wanting to do a show like this for a few years. And you know what? I said, I'm going to do this show today. And I talked to my wife about it and she said, are you really going to do that show? Because I don't know if that's a great idea, because the show's about, you know, the team. The show's about Bam. It's about Scott. It's about Ricky. It's about your guests on Monday. It's about your callers on Sunday night. And I 100% agree about that. But when I go down for Marathon Weekend, when I travel out to Disneyland, of course, I'm stubborn and I never want to miss a podcast. That's always important to me, that we have a show there for you every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Did you have something on your feed to take with you wherever it is? We're consistent like that. But also, I just want to jump in here and do a twofold podcast. One, I wanted to have a little time here solo, and this is going to be a solo show. So it's going to kind of be like a crossover Be Our Guest podcast / Mike in the Midwest. And if you're not a patron, which is fine, I appreciate my patrons so very much. You guys are the folks that do keep the show rolling. There's continued costs with the podcast, and they did go up in 2025. And without you guys, we could not keep the show on the air. So thank you to each and every one of you. I say that every show, but I mean it so very much. But this is kind of like what a Mike in the Midwest is. I open the mic once a week. We have a show about 30 to 40 minutes. Usually I record those on Friday nights, Saturdays. Talk about life, talk about the news, just talk about what's going on. I go off on tangents all the time, and that's probably what this show is going to be. But this show today is going to be twofold. Just me kind of sitting here and talking about how thankful I am for the Be Our Guest podcast and for you guys in our community. And I've been, is 2025 wrapped up? I tried to really reflect on how great things are for me. And, you know, you always have challenges, right? Life's going to throw you things that are not perfect, but I'm always trying to find the good in things, right? You know, if you have a struggle, you can have the victory. You know, you can have the comeback. You can overcome the obstacle, hopefully, and it gives you something to work towards. So that's kind of how I'm seeing it. But I mean, I have so many blessings in my life that I don't deserve, and the podcast is one of those things. And I wanted to talk about that, but I also twofold wanted to talk about, for those of us that are going down to Walt Disney World and taking on Marathon Weekend, whether it's just running one of the races or running all four, running two, running three, whatever it is, just, you know, going down to cheer, going down to vacation, going down to support other folks that are running, you know, supporting a significant other, supporting a parent, a child. I want to talk about what that experience might entail if it's your first time. And, maybe just give, and I'm not an expert at this, but maybe give a few tips just for somebody who has been there many times and has learned the hard way a lot of times. And maybe a few reminders that I've tried to remind myself over the past couple of weeks, as not somebody who's necessarily a veteran, but somebody who's getting older. And I think with age does come wisdom. And you know, when I started doing these races, I didn't appreciate them as much. And I think as I realized that I'm not going to be able to do Dopey Challenge as many times, maybe, you know, I'm looking at this like, you know, is this my last one? Or possibly this might be it. You know, this probably is it. You know, marathons aren't things you could do forever. And especially something like a Dopey Challenge, like you have to appreciate every mile. You have to appreciate every smile that you see when you're going down Main Street USA. So we'll talk about two things. So I hope that you will understand that this is not a listener question show here on a Wednesday. You won't go over to Apple Podcasts and thrash us and give us a 1-star review because I know this is not what you came for. And I do apologize for that. But I wanted to take one show out of our library of almost 3,000 shows at this point to step aside here for a second and kind of do a little Mike in the Midwest Be Our Guest podcast crossover to just come in here. And I'm going to start off by saying thank you for always taking the time to listen to our show. I say that a lot, but our show is a little bit different in that when I think about the Be Our Guest podcast, we started back in 2008, March of 2008, and we just kind of figured things out as we went. It started obviously in a basement in Florissant, Missouri. My dad worked in radio, had some radio equipment. My dad owned a mobile DJ company, and I got all the gear. I had the gear. I had the idea. My dad worked in radio. I always watched him. He was a program director for a radio station. I worked as a mobile DJ all through high school and college. So every weekend I was at DJing wedding receptions, high school homecomings, proms. I DJ'd I ran a skating rink. And so, what I did to kill the time is I played the music. I was the DJ for all the sessions. So I was comfortable with that, but I always thought, this podcasting thing that's kind of becoming a thing in the, early 2000s. I started listening to him and I thought it'd be kind of fun to do one. And I like Disney. And so I kind of jumped in there and found Ricky, and then we found Pam, and we had a co-host named Debbie there in the first few years. And we had a good time with that. We used Skype. I don't know if you remember Skype. It was a Microsoft product. It was basically like a VoIP, voice over internet protocol. We'd call each other on the computer and record the shows. We never saw each other. We just talked to each other over the phone. And that's how we did it for years. And Skype was terrible. Oh my gosh, the calls would break up and things would be terrible. But it was a way that we got to get the show done. And then we decided to start doing live call-in shows once a month. We did them on Sunday nights. We had 2-hour live call-in shows once a month, the fourth Sunday of the month. And again, we didn't know how to do this. So I begged my dad, how can I do a call-in show? Because I always wanted to work in radio. So my dad got me the way they did the call-in shows at his radio station. He got me I don't even know what the thing was called, but he brought it home. And what it was, I plugged because at the time, again, our podcast has been around quite a while. We had a phone line, like a regular analog phone line in our house still. Nobody has those anymore, right? You plug the analog phone line from our house into this thing, and it would take the analog phone line, turn it into a digital signal into the mixer, so that and I would give out our actual phone number to our house when we did the live call-in shows. So when you called, it was 314-921-9556 was the phone number. That was actually my home phone number that I was giving out for the live call-in show. And so this little thing would light up. I'd have to push the button on the rack, and it would take the call. And I'd pot up that channel on the mixer, and it would turn into digital signal, and that's how we'd talk to the callers. Now, do people prank me during the week sometimes? But it was the whole thing was you guys were there with us 2008, 2009, 2010 when we were trying to figure this whole thing out, and you've been there with us. It is 2026, and you're still here with us. You were there with us at Mouse Fest. Masayo, I remember when I got to meet Masayo, it was like meeting a rock star. Masayo was from Japan. She was like a superstar in the WDW Today community. I got to meet her. Michelle came to the very first Mouse Fest meeting from down in South Florida. I met Jackie, and she went on with Keith, who made our first logo, who made all of our logos. We still use Keith's logo. He's an amazing artist. Jackie and Keith wrote Attention to Detail, this amazing book years ago, a couple of them actually. Jay and Melissa, they're great friends. They met on one of the podcast cruises, and Mallory was a flower girl in their wedding on the boardwalk years ago. And, Ricky and myself were in the wedding party, and they have, a beautiful family living right outside the Magic Kingdom now. And I see Jay flying his jets. I mean, these jets with 200 people on them, flying them all over the world. And just when I see our podcast family, on social media, it just warms my heart. And the blessing of that is just amazing that friends share that stuff all the time and that it just makes me so happy. So I don't get to say thank you for just allowing me to be a part of all this. I know that I get to sit here and talk and be kind of like the loud mouthpiece of the whole kind of community Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, because like I'm stubborn, right? I always want to host every show. Knock on wood, I've been doing all the shows, and because this is what I love to do. You know, like some guys go and play golf 5 times a week, or you know, they have their thing. My thing is podcasting. I like to talk to people. This is how I meet friends. You know, I don't have a ton of friends outside of you guys. You know, I have a lot of friends, but I meet them at places like Walt Disney World. I meet them on cruise ships. I meet them at Disneyland. You know, you guys know Scott's my best friend, you know, and we met on one of the podcast cruises years and years ago, and we're thick as thieves, you know, because like we have so much in common that we didn't even know. It's so weird because we grew up so far apart, and he's 10 years younger than me, so we're not even really the same age. But you know, he's like a brother to me, and and the thing is, I don't know. So let me talk about Ricky, Scott, and Pam for a second, if I can, with you guys real quick, because I want to say for a minute how much I appreciate each of them. First of all, Ricky's been there, you know, from the beginning, and she really, you know, she gives a ton to the show, and especially in the last little bit, she's been raising her first child, and she's, you know, she's hung in there, and she's stuck in doing this, and her husband has been going through, he's become a preacher, and that's, you know, something, it's like a career change. He works in the hospitality business, but also doing this because he had a calling to that. And, you know, raising a small child, that is also, I remember those days. That is not easy to do. And Ricky works a full-time job, and she has a commute in Atlanta. I've heard, and I've actually seen it a couple times when we used to drive to Walt Disney World. We had to go right through Atlanta, and we went in the middle of the night. We were usually going through Atlanta at about 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and the traffic was terrible at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. Like we passed, we went right through downtown. We'd pass past Georgia Tech with a Golden Dome, and we'd see that sign that said Varsity. I don't know. She lives in a place called Sugar Hill. I don't know how close that is to downtown, but the traffic is a little behind the scenes. We can't record on Mondays until Ricky gets home. That's when we start. So, because Pam and I work from home, and Scott, when he records with us, he can always get home before Ricky. So we're always waiting for Ricky to get home. But I mean, we're not like, you know, yelling at her or anything. I mean, she has a job where she doesn't work from home, and we get it. I used to be the same way when I was a teacher. But I have all of us on Find My Friends. So I just watch her little car drive through the traffic of Atlanta and just wait till she gets to her house. But she does that faithfully every time we get to record. And, you know, with having a small child, and she does, man, as soon as she gets home, she's boom, right there on the computer to record. And she has that chipper, positive attitude that I just want to say I really appreciate Ricky, because it's hard with all that's going on, and she makes it happen every time. So appreciate her being a part of the show for all this time. Now let me talk about Pam. Pam is somebody who has always brought professionalism to our podcast. And when you look up positivity in the dictionary, you're going to see a picture of Pam Forrester and a leader. And I've learned a ton from Pam. I see her as like a sister, because as a mentor too. Pam leads a multi-million-dollar company. I mean, she has all these travel agents under her that she leads and inspires and helps us all to become, you know, better than we were yesterday. And, you know, I'll be honest, like I work for her and I do this full time at this point, but it's never like, if you would have asked me, I would be doing this in 2026, you know, working in travel. I thought you're crazy, because I have a master's degree in education. That's what I thought I would be doing for 30 years, and that's what I love. I love teaching. Teaching was my calling. I loved working with kids. I love inspiring kids. I love being in a leadership role. I love the interaction, the daily chaos of a classroom. I love that. Like, that was my element. That's why I loved working down at Space Camp for educators. It was the same thing. Instead of teaching kids, I was teaching teachers, but in a chaotic, in a mission control simulator and in a space shuttle simulator. And it was totally chaotic. There were buzzers and, lights flashing and, oh my gosh, we just lost an oxygen tank. It was great. That was my jam. But then, I think that you got to take challenges when they come up to you. And I mean, I am the opposite of a business person because my problem is like, I'm really not money driven at all. That's my, some people are like, I've watched, I don't watch a ton of movies, but you do see movies when you're just going through life as an American, right? You watch baseball movie like Moneyball and all that stuff. And I'm not like good at that kind of stuff. I'm a optimist. I'm a big picture person. I want to see everybody happy. I want to see everybody win. I want to see everybody reach their potential. Like, that's my goal. Like, I'm not worried about that other kind of stuff. I'm not like a person that worries about, like, I just think things are going to work out. That's kind of how I see things. I just want people to be happy. So business was working in like the business side of things. That's kind of a different thing, but it was a challenge, right? When it came about, and I said, well, the cool thing is that like you get to make people happy. You get to help people plan Disney vacations. Like, how cool is that? Like, because when you think about it, and I talked to my wife about this, Disney vacations are the best days of people's lives. Like, what do you talk about a day, a week later, a month later, a year later, a decade later? You talk about that Disney vacation that you took. Those are the best days of your life. What do you look forward to for 3 months, 6 months, a year? You look forward to those Disney vacations, a cruise, a trip to Disneyland, a trip to Walt Disney World, that marathon you ran, that anniversary you celebrated, that meal you had at California Grill. I've never done that, but you could. That Chef Mickey's meal with your granddaughter. Those are the best days. How cool would it be to be a part of that? And so I thought, hey, that's pretty cool too. And it's fun at midlife to kind of do a 180 and see if you still can. Do you still got it? Could you take a new challenge in life? It scared me to death. Scott was there. I had a meltdown in Chicago right as I quit teaching over spring break. Scott was in the front row for this. Very few people saw this. We took a spring break trip to Chicago, and I lost it up in Chicago because I thought I had made the wrong decision, but everybody was trying to help me. A million people wanted to book vacations, God bless you all, over spring break of 2017. And I had a million quotes come in like one day, and we were in Chicago. I was out of the office. We were trying to do a little spring break getaway for a couple days. The weather was terrible. It was freezing cold up in Chicago. And I was like trying to decide, like, should I be having fun with my family or should I be doing these 73 quotes in one day as we're in a hotel room in Chicago? My head almost exploded, but and it was one of the worst days of my life. But we made it through. But one of those things, and by the way, this is what Mike in the Midwest is. If you've ever been curious about if you want to become a $5 a month patron, this is what you get once a week, a show that's like this. I just talk about life, and I try to give you some things to think about. So anyway, I did shift gears, and Pam, has always talked me through, like, you can be somebody who helps, like, change people through planning vacations, just like you were when you were a teacher. So Pam Forrester not only is an amazing podcaster, she's great at podcasting. She brings that laugh, she brings that smile, she brings the joy, but she also is a mentor to me and has really taught me so much about just what I do. So I appreciate her so much, but she brings so much to the podcast. Now, finally, Scott. What can I say about Scott? Dude, he's my brother from another mother. I'm so glad that I got to meet him through the podcast. Like, we didn't meet till about halfway through the podcast life, but I tell him this every once in a while, and I don't know if it's sunk in with him. He is a good podcaster. He is a good podcaster. I just, like he was just kind of like I don't know if he's a fan of the show, but I remember meeting him for the very first time. We had a podcast meetup over one of the race weekends. I think it was in the fall. maybe Halloween or something. We got a picture together. It was Tortuga Tavern right there across from Pirates of the Caribbean. We got our Lizards shirts on. We look young in that picture. I look so old now, and he had the bright red hair, and we just look younger. And so, but we had that picture. We've been friends like for a long time now, but I just remember, like, you know, we went on the cruise, and we started acting fools together. And I'm like, we couldn't stop. And like his daughter, you know, Emily and Mallory hit it off so well. And Elizabeth and Pam hit it off real well. Like our families are just tight, and our friendships have just grown to where we're like family ever since. But then I just remember, like, I think we were in Disneyland. I said, "Dude, you just need to be a part of this podcast. Like, you are, you know, like we need it. Like, we had a fourth person at one point because we've been going a 3-person crew forever. Debbie left, and we went like a 3-person crew for probably 10 years. I said, you know what? You need to be on the show. Like, that's it. I'm calling Jen, who drew the cartoon. We have our cartoon people. I said, I'm calling Jen. She's going to draw you. You're on the show. Like, we need you. Like, you're good. Like, you're funny. You know all the Disney stuff. Like, there's nothing you don't know with Disney, dude. You're on the show. People love you. He's like, okay, well, we'll see. And I don't know. I mean, do you guys, I can't speak for the podcast audience, but I think you guys all like Scotty G. He's knowledgeable. He's friendly. He's funny. And I think he's an amazing podcaster. And I think he's added so much to the show over the past couple of years. And I appreciate his talents. And also his videos. His videos are awesome. Great humor, great outtakes. And the crew, I mean, his family, Emily, Elizabeth. And we just appreciate him. So I just wanted to put that out there. So I just want to say, as far as the thankful part, because I don't want to make this show too long. But, because with one person, you can't have a super long show. I'm so grateful that we have what we have with the podcast, that we get to consistently come together and talk about Disney dining plans, or what are the rooms going to be like at Port Orleans French Quarter? Do we like the new look of the bedspreads, or, you know, that kind of stuff? Are we excited that Stacy's coming back to the Resort TV in 2026? How cool is that? That's going to be awesome. Oh my gosh, it's like going back in time. Not that I'm super stoked about that, but I could not be more stoked about that. You know, it's just that we have these things we're passionate about, and we get an opportunity to come together, talk about it on the podcast, and you can listen to it while you're running, while you're walking the dog, while you're doing the dishes, while you're commuting, and then we get to get together in the Discord or in the clubhouse, and we can all talk about it. That's why, sorry, you were hearing the beeps a few minutes ago. And we have a community where in real time we can chat, post pictures, and not just about Disney, but about, you know, Marlessa's new place in Connecticut, or, you know, just whatever's happening in our lives, and we can be excited for each other. We truly have a family. We truly have a community. And for allowing me to be a part of that, I just want to say thank you. You guys are the best. You know, as we go into 2026 here at the beginning of the year, I say thank you real quickly, maybe at the top and the bottom of each show. And, you know, I have to give those kind of like 3 quick ads. I give the quick ad for the Amazon link, and I have to do this. And here, let me tell you this real quick. I've tried for the whole length of our show, I've stayed away from putting in the ad inserts, where a lot of podcasts you'll hear you know, you get like a ad for tequila, or an ad for a gambling site, or an ad for whatever. I don't know, a bed, you know, I don't know, Hilton or something. Those things pay you money. That's a way for podcasts to generate money. I mean, Podbean begs me to put those in with our numbers. I don't want to give that. I want to keep this pure for you guys. But I do ask, I hope that you will support us through using the Amazon link when you can. When you get a chance, if you can book with the Magic for Less, that really helps us in supporting us on Patreon. If you can do that, and if you can put up with me just mentioning that and reminding you at the top of the show and the bottom of the show, we're all good. We're all good. That's how I look at it. That's trade-off. And we don't have to stop in the middle. We can just roll with a good podcast in the middle and not bug you with crazy ads for gambling sites and, you know, calm.com and all that stuff, because those things drive me nuts when I listen to podcasts. If I could skip them, I would. So that's where we are. Okay, skipping gears here for a minute. For those of us that are going to Marathon Weekend, today's the expo as this show comes out. So if you see me over at Wide World of Sports, come say hi. I'll be there solo, and I'd love to get a selfie and say hello. My goal is, here's one of my goals, kind of get inside my head here. I want to get a bunch of selfies over this weekend, and I want to make them into a big reels at the end of the weekend and post it on social media. So I want to get as many different selfies as I can. So come up to me and see me, because I'm tall and you can find me pretty easily. And let's get some crazy selfies and have some fun. So let's do that. But here's what I wanted to kind of just mention. And this is what I'm doing is I'm saying these things so that I follow them myself. But I think if we all kind of do these things, maybe we can get through this all together. Here's the big takeaway. Let me get a Coke Zero going here, because I've got to wet my whistle. This is a lot of talking. This is when I usually throw it to Pam or Scott or Ricky and tell her to make sure the dog's not barking. We've been going for 25 minutes. That's a lot. This is like Mike in the Midwest. I just sit here and talk. The biggest thing I can say to you, and I've said this on the podcast many times, this weekend, these are the victory laps. You've done the work already. The hay's in the barn. This is the time to enjoy it. I know the nerves are going to be there. And I'm saying this basically for like the rookies and the people who are maybe a little bit nervous, maybe haven't done this many, many times. But it's also for all of us that have done it for a decade or more, because we're all going to have these same feelings. This is for all of us, but I know maybe it'll help some people more than others. The hay's in the barn, and these are the victory laps. And here's the other thing. There's a lot of stuff you can't control, and just let it go. Just, let it go, like Elsa. Just seriously. The weather's going to be what the weather's going to be. Like, at this point, you're already there. But because the thing is, I love that I've recorded this one. I have not recorded a show like this since we lived in our old house. I haven't recorded a show like this in probably 15 years. I didn't even turn on the video camera. This is not on YouTube. This is not on anything. This is just straight to Audition, just straight into the audio software. This one is not, there's no evidence of the show other than this audio recording. I love it. This is fun. So, but just, hopefully you packed a little bit of everything and just be prepared. Like, looks like it might be a hotter marathon weekend. I'm recording this one on Saturday, January 3rd. We'll see. But I'm also packing rain gear. I'm also packing sweatshirts, throwaway stuff. So you just don't know. But here's the thing. Don't worry about it. You can't control the weather. Just remember, though, get out there and give your best effort and have fun. Have fun. There's going to be so many people out there that want to see you succeed. I want to see you succeed. Our whole team wants to see you succeed. Pelkey wants to see you succeed. Riley wants to see you succeed. Carissa wants to see you succeed. There's going to be people on Saturday and Sunday on Main Street USA. They want to see you succeed. There's some people that have made signs that are going to be cheering for you. Strangers are going to be cheering for you. There's going to be strangers that got up at 4 o'clock in the morning. They're going to stand out in the dark. They're going to stand out in the cold or, kind of chilly weather. And they're going to cheer for absolutely a stranger from Texas, from Connecticut, from Rhode Island, from Vermont, from North Carolina, from Missouri, from Nebraska, from Kansas, from Wyoming. They're going to cheer for you. They don't even know you, but they're going to stand there for 4 hours. They're going to cheer when you go by. How often in life do you get that? It's special. On Thursday, tomorrow, when you're running that 5K, you're going to get to see some cool stuff. For those 3.1 miles, you could stop and meet a favorite character. You're going to get to, be in the park before the sun comes up. You're going to see the torches in Epcot. It's going to be amazing. You're going to get a cool medal at the end. You can get a banana. I'm allergic to them. Don't give me one. but it's going to be awesome. And the whole thing is we have a team. Here's like the superpower for us. For those that listen to our show, we have a team. We have the Lizards. And these Lizards, our team has been around for over a decade. Thank you, Mike Bankhead. Thank you, Ben Lappin. Thank you, Molly, for kind of taking the reins this year and keeping the training going for us every week in the group. Thank you to everybody who's been there in these leadership roles to keep this team going. Because teams need leaders, and our team is Joe, especially Joe. Teams need leaders that keep everybody together, and our team always has amazing leaders that lead with compassion, that lead with respect, that are just amazing folks that are there. So here's the thing: you won't have to look far to find folks out on that course that are your teammates. They're going to be there in the corrals, but they're going to be all around. And that's the good news, especially like as we get further on in the weekend, Sunday, because Sunday's when you really, if you're running the full marathon, is where you really start. For me, it was when doubt creeps in. These old knees can't go as far anymore. And so it is good to see another Volt colored shirt out there. And like, oh my gosh, it's so good to see that there's another Lizard still on the course with me. And especially when I see somebody cheering, that like a familiar face, it almost makes me break down. Because when somebody takes the time to stand at the TTC or to stand on Main Street or to stand in the parking lot at the Animal Kingdom or what have you, wherever it is on the course, by the boardwalk, the Epcot parking lot as you're getting ready to come back into Epcot, doesn't matter where it is. Anybody that takes the time to get out and cheer, that takes so much effort at Walt Disney World, and you're not getting a medal. You're not getting a nutrition box. Nobody's handing you a big old Powerade at the end. You're doing it because you're just a good person. You're doing it because you're not even a good person. You're an amazing person, because you're just doing that because you're dishing love. And a lot of times, what's the best thing you're going to get back? Mike maybe coming over and giving you a hug, then I'm all sweaty and stinky. And that's probably a terrible trade-off. I don't know. It's amazing that you're out there. But the bottom line is Caleb. If you don't know Caleb Roby he's in our lizard. He's one of our lizards, and he's a perfect dopey, which means he's ran every dopey challenge every year. So he's run all 4 races since the Dopey Challenge started. And Molly asked a question a couple weeks back in the Lizards group, like, why do you run Dopey? Like, why do you run? You know, what's your why kind of question. And he said a couple things that really set home. Like I even responded, like, I'm ready to run through a wall after what I saw Caleb post. And I thought it was interesting because I like to hear what successful people say. And Caleb is successful for a few reasons. One, when he posts his runs, he always puts a positive message, and he always posts a picture that he's smiling. That's what I think a successful person's about. He has positive words, and he's got a smile on his face. But he said he runs for basically a couple of reasons. I'm kind of paraphrasing him here. One is that it keeps him accountable. Like, he doesn't run all the time. He's not psycho like me, and I got to cut this off because it's really not great for my body. He runs enough that it keeps him accountable. You know, like, it doesn't let him get terribly out of shape, but it keeps him, like, you know, keeps him physically fit. I appreciate that, right? You can't really do a full marathon of the Dopey Challenge without staying somewhat in shape if you want to enjoy the weekend, right? You want to stay at a certain level, which I thought those were great words, great advice. Like, you know, throughout the year, it gives you like that carrot. It says, okay, I'm going to do the Dopey Challenge, so I need to at least run a little bit throughout the year, you know, have a base level of fitness. That good call. That's a great call. Keeps you accountable. But here's the other thing. Caleb posted that he runs for the people that can't. And that really caught me. Because a lot of times I think that we take for granted that we can. You know, running is hard. And you know, like, for people outside the running community, they might go, oh, like run walk is, that's not running a marathon. I'll tell you what, run walk is running. Like the Galloway method, people that might poo-poo that method, they have no idea what they're talking about. 26.2 miles is 26.2 miles, let me tell you. And anybody who gets out there and toes that line and runs 13 or 6.2 or 3.1 this weekend, you're a runner and you're courageous to get into those corrals. It takes a lot to put yourself out there. And I'm super proud of you. And the thing is that a lot of people can't. And I think that if you can, you should, and you should do it for as long as you can. But you should, when you do it, you should do it with kind of a joy in your heart. You should enjoy it. It shouldn't be a slog. The thing is, I think that there's going to be people out there this weekend. I hope not, but there will be. There'll be a few people that maybe in those corrals are going to be so nervous that I don't think they're going to enjoy the races. They're going to be so nervous that they're just going to want to get through them. And you know what? Looking back, there's been years where I've been so nervous about everything. Like, am I going to get a blister? Am I going to get a stomach issue? Am I going to get swept? Am I going to get, I have so many what ifs in the corrals that maybe I didn't enjoy the experience as much as I should have. And maybe that's why I'm doing this show and putting it out on a Wednesday instead of doing listener questions, because I'm hoping it'll catch somebody here before the weekend really gets rolling. And maybe if it catches one or two people, it'll make your weekend better. And that's kind of the goal of the Be Our Guest podcast. It's always to plan better Disney vacations. And this is a different kind of Disney vacation. It's a run vacation. I saw that, there's stuff in People magazine this week about Marathon Weekend. There's stuff in the New York Times about Marathon Weekend. So it's pretty cool. But I'm going to wrap it. And we'll have a regular podcast on Friday for you. So if you want to take it with you on the half marathon Saturday, the full marathon on Sunday, instead of listening to your playlist, that's a choice. We'll be there. But I'm going to wrap. But I just wanted to jump in here. And as we get rolling on Marathon Weekend, I wanted to, first of all, thank each and every one of you as we begin 2026 for allowing us to have the podcast, but mostly for allowing us to have the podcast community. I hope that you always enjoy the shows. I'm going to, here in 2026, really try to have a variety of lots of Walt Disney World topics, some Disney Cruise Line, because I know we kind of went cruise line heavy towards the end of 2025 just because of the circumstances. A lot of us went on cruises. Some Disney Cruise Line, obviously some Disneyland, but I'm going to mix it up. And I want to thank all of our folks who came on the Monday shows. I think we've been hitting it out of the park with the trip reports. Our Monday folks have been amazing. So thank you to everybody with the trip reports on Mondays. I love you guys. You guys have been killing it with those. Sunday night shows, hope you enjoy those. Give me feedback if you like those. The call-in shows, we can keep doing those if you like. And for this weekend, for everybody that's going to be down at Marathon Weekend, safe travels if you haven't made it there yet, if you're coming down later on in the weekend. And like I said, come see me. I'm solo. I'll be at French Quarter. And let's make some memories. Let's maybe get some PRs, maybe not. Let's just have some fun. Let's collect some hardware. Let's get some medals. Let's take lots of pictures and make lots of memories. And know that I'm proud to be your teammate. I am super proud to be at Lizard. I'm super proud to be there with you. And we're all going to work to make sure that we all get to those finish lines. And we're going to have so many smiles, so many memories. And I just appreciate y'all so much. Thanks for being a part of the Be Our Guest podcast community. All right, so we get back together again on Friday. Nobody else here on the show. It's just me. So until next time, you guys stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you real soon.
You've been listening to the Be Our Guest Walt Disney World Trip Planning Podcast. If you have questions, comments, or would like to be a guest on the show, please visit our website at beourguestpodcast.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you real soon.